to the honorary street naming for Dr. George W. Hill. Louder, it's been 89 years. So I'd like to start off by welcoming you as part of, if you didn't know, the Dr. George W. Hill Legacy Center. As village historian and Althema Goodson as a champion of our community, we have been inspired by Dr. Hill, and we started a business in his name to carry on his legacy with permission from his children. So we welcome you here today. This is really an honor, and it's about time. People in the village have been trying to name something after Dr. Hill for 89 years. And today is the day. It is well overdue. I just would like to thank a few people. Dr. Lane, who is here with us today, that worked with Dr. Hill, under Dr. Hill, and with Dr. Hill. And she made it possible for me to interview. I don't know if Donna Chambers is here yet. I spoke with Donna Chambers, the Speller sisters who talked to me about Dr. Hill, my mother, Diane Sharrock, and please, Dr. Hill's children, please step forward so they can make yourselves known. Neil Hill, Deborah Hill, and the Hill family, the grandchildren. Thank you. So I'm gonna turn it over. They're gonna speak later, but we're gonna turn it over to our Deputy Mayor, Omar Lopez.
Thank you, Joyce. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today in honoring Dr. George W. Hill. You're going to be hearing a lot of details about Dr. Hill's life and legacy, the impact that he had on this community from my colleague, Trustee Dana White. But I want to say that this is one of the most important things that we do. This sign here will be here long after all of us are gone, so that generations in the future will know and remember the impact that Dr. Hill had. The presence that you have here today says a lot, because we know that this is a person that represented the values of our community. Someone that served everyone that needed to be served, particularly those that were least well served in our community. Someone that kept the history alive of health and the importance of close connections, that it's not just about the physical health, it's what they call the bedside manner, right? It's the relationship with the patient. Dr. Hill had that. And so you're going to be hearing a lot about his impact in life, but for now I want to thank you and pass it on to my colleague.
Well, I have a, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have a proclamation here that I can read, and do you think I should do that? And that's a good way to, or were you gonna? Okay, all right. I don't know. We didn't practice. We didn't rehearse. We have no idea. It's all on the fly, my friend. So for me, but this will give a really good background on Dr. Hill, and I do agree that this is long overdue. And also, like, how amazing is it that his former offices are now open and thriving again for people to use? That his offices are open again and being used. So and so beautifully redone, and it's as if his spirit is here today with us. So it all seems to be coming full circle. I love this. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining recognizes individuals who have showed exemplary commitment and dedication to the community, and we acknowledge outstanding service that contributes to the quality of life in Ossining. Dr. George W. Hill moved to Ossining in 1934 to start his medical practice. Just 1 year after graduating from medical school, one of his missions was to provide quality, affordable medical care to the Black community. In the early years, there were not enough Black patients in the village to keep the practice going, so he made house calls to surrounding towns to keep the practice afloat. He started on Croton Street, then went to Hunter Street, and settled in here at 30 State Street. By 1968, he had 1,600 patients, and half of them were white. He was a compassionate, trusted doctor who cared deeply about the health and welfare of his patients. reach the rest of it? This mic, I'm sorry. It's not cutting in and out. Does it need new batteries? Dr. Hill collaborated with the Ossining Public Library, establishing a collection of books relating to African culture and African American life. He wanted to see Black children get a good education and go on to pursue higher education. He established the Cooperative Scholarship Fund, which provides scholarships to Black graduating seniors at Ossining High School. He mentored students and would call admissions offices of colleges on their behalf. He helped many to find jobs in the field of their interest. It wasn't just students that he helped with employment, but adults as well. In 1938, Dr. Hill founded the Ossining Negro Civic Organization. The organization was instrumental in working with the village to appoint the first Black police officer and opened up a number of employment opportunities previously closed to Black people. The organization also worked to get a memorial dedicated to the late Reverend Henry Edward Dewars, another instrumental trailblazer for the Ossining community. And Dr. Hill had dreamed of turning his office at 30 State Street into a health center for the Black community staffed by Black doctors. Though he never got to see that happen, a colleague of his, Dr. Bradley Gordon, spearheaded the establishment of the Open Door Health Center. They started off in the basement of the First Baptist Church on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, providing free medical care. This dream of Dr. Hill has had a far-reaching impact, creating one of the largest healthcare centers in our county. And Dr. Hill will be deeply missed by all who knew him. He gave selflessly of his time and expertise. His compassion for others was evident, and all who knew him couldn't help but be inspired by his commitment and energy. His passion and devotion, just in time, to the Ossining community was undeniable. His contributions too many to list. He truly left a legacy. We are thankful for Dr. Hill's service and dedication to the Ossining community. Now, therefore, I, Rika Levin, Mayor of the Village of Ossining, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, do hereby recognize Dr. George W. Hill as he is remembered and honored today with his honorary street naming of Dr. George W. Hill Place at Academy Place and State Street, and urge all of our residents and merchants to join with us in honoring him.
Neil, Laura.
So now we're just going to take the time to just acknowledge some of our elected officials that are here with us. Our town supervisor, Liz Feldman.
Hi everyone. I'm so glad I was able to be here today. This is really important to me, to honor the people who've made such a difference historically. The difference Dr. Hill has made in our community through the Cooperative Scholarship alone, through his dedication to making sure everybody had equal access to health care, jobs, education, and more. I mean, he's shaped our community. It's so fitting to name a street after him. I rescheduled my rally just so I could be here because it was that important to me to honor someone who made that much of a difference in our community. And you know, he set a fine example and is really what volunteer community is all about, and I'm so thankful for him. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so we'd also like to recognize other members of our town council. We have Angelo. I don't want to mess up your last name. Manicchio. We also have our school board president, Melissa Banta. Vice President. We have Shandi Speller, who is also who is a library board, but past president of the school board as well. And we do want to recognize our town clerk here. She's in the back. Sue. Donnelly's in the back.
I just want to mention something. Shandi and Melissa, please come forward. Oh. Yeah, I did. You are Dr. Hill's legacy. For the people here that did not know, Dr. Hill wanted to be on the school board, but they did not vote him in because of what he looked like. You are his legacy. So thank you for the work that you did in following him behind what he required for us to do, is serve our community. So thank you. It's not gone unnoticed.
So we do have some wonderful elected officials who could not be here today because there's so much going on, but they did want to send citations and recognition. So I do have one from our Assemblywoman Dana Levenberg. We have one from our county executive, George Latimer. We have one from Senator Pete Harcum. And we also have from County Legislator Catherine Borgia. And they all send their regrets, but they definitely just wanted to acknowledge what Dr. Hill has done and just thanks his family and also the work that, the legacy that we will continue. So we have these for the family.
So you're gonna do a lot of holding and pictures.
Scarduzio, thank you for coming. We have Mike O'Connor, who is like everything Ossining, the veteran fire department. Thank you for coming. We have our village manager, Karen DeTore, here. We have our Chamber of Commerce here, Gail.
Hi, Gail.
The amazing Gail. We have Sankofa here. We have NAACP here. We have NU Builds, the Juneteenth Council. We have all of our community stakeholders. We have OPAC. Shirley's here. Is Miss Judith Baville here? Is there anyone from the community who'd like to speak at this point in time? Kendall, you have something to say as an elder?
And as your mom being one of working inside the office, thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you for letting me speak. I'm speaking on behalf of the community that was here in this fine building, and a lot of us were brought into this world with Dr. Hill. I had the privilege of having a mother that was his receptionist for quite some years. I spent quite a bit of time in that building eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And this is a great day. I'm just really, truly blessed to be here and to see this happen. Thank you.
We would also like to invite up our neighbors in Croton, our town officials, to come speak.
Thank you very much. I'm Len Simon from the Croton-on-Hudson Board of Trustees. Thank you, Althena Goodson, Joyce Cole, all my fellow elected and appointed officials that are here today. I'd also like to introduce one of the first citizens of Croton-on-Hudson, Nance Shatskin. Where's Nance? Nance Shatskin is not only a great representative for Croton-on-Hudson, but she's one of Dr. Hill's patients. And unfortunately, Dr. Hill left us 40 years ago, but to show what a great doctor he is, Nance is still here. So I have a proclamation today from our community to yours. The first 6 paragraphs tell all about the good works that define Dr. Hill's life. With your permission, I'd like to read the very last paragraph and the most important part, the now therefore clause. It says, now therefore I, Brian Pugh, mayor of the village of Croton-on-Hudson, I'm standing in for the mayor today, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, desire to recognize and remember the great impact Dr. Hill made to his community and the surrounding communities of northern Westchester, and do hereby proclaim May 6th, 2023, Dr. George W. Hill Day in the village of Croton-on-Hudson. Thank you. That is so well deserved for Dr. Hill. When I learned that Dr. Hill lived in Croton for many years, I knew there was no place more I would rather be than here today with you. How wonderful that I can tell our friends, our neighbors, our visitors, and most importantly, our school children, that on the streets of Croton once walked a great man. So with gratitude, Croton joins with you today to honor Dr. Hill and to thank him for his years of dedication to the people in both of our communities. Dr. Hill's life reminds us that we may see boundaries on a map, like between Ossining and Croton, but extraordinary leaders like him can erase those boundaries and make us as one. I've never felt more kinship for Ossining than I do today, and I hope that Ossining feels the same way about Croton. Before I came to Croton, I lived in Washington, D.C. for many years and worked with some of the most extraordinary urban leaders of our time. Each of them worked to make America's communities better and more just places for all. Mayors like Maynard Jackson of Atlanta, Richard Gordon Hatcher of Gary, Coleman Young of Detroit, Mark Morial of New Orleans, Willie Brown of San Francisco, David Dinkins of New York City, and so many others. They accomplished so much for their cities and the nation. I learned from them that their success and achievements could not be possible without the unsung heroes who worked beside them day and night, people like Dr. George W. Hill. One of the best books I ever read is called Thunder of the Angels. Recommend it. Get it and read it if you haven't already. It's about the Montgomery, Alabama bus boycott of 1955. When we speak of the boycott, we focus, of course, on Mrs. Rosa Parks and Dr. Martin Luther King. But Thunder of the Angels also tells the story of Edgar Daniel Nixon, E.D. Nixon, a sleeping car porter and union organizer who worked along with many others in Montgomery for a long number of years so that when the right moment came along, Montgomery would be ready. As the author Donnie Williams writes, and I quote, "What happened on that bus early in the evening on December 1, 1955, when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat was a long time coming. It took the emotions and efforts of many people like Mattie Johnson and Alma Franklin and Rosa Parks, like Joanne Robinson and Johnny Rebecca Carr and Hazel Gregory, like Fred Gray, Edgar Daniel Nixon, and Martin Luther King. When they sang the hymn, 'We Shall Overcome,' they stood together in a pride-filled crowd, ready to be unmoved, making a noise like the thunder of angels in the old preacher's sermon. So today, we stand on the shoulders of the E.D. Nixons and the Dr. George W. Hills of this world. They did the work to make a better future possible. They were doctors, lawyers, nurses, dentists, funeral home directors, laborers, and merchants. They did their daily work in our communities, and when they finished their day's labor, they went to work on their second jobs. In Dr. Hill's case, that meant the Ossining Negro Civic Organization, the NAACP, the Cooperative Scholarship Fund, and so many of the other endeavors he established and ran for decades. Muhammad Ali said, and these words are written on his tombstone at Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville, "Service is the rent we pay for our room in heaven. It is comforting to me to know that Dr. Hill is up there having earned one of the most beautiful rooms possible." So I'm glad to see that starting today, Dr. George W. Hill will be a little less unsung because of this beautiful sign proclaiming Dr. George W. Hill Place. We all get to sing his name and his story a little bit louder. I look forward to bringing my two little grandchildren to this corner one day and telling them Dr. Hill's story. And I thank you for allowing Croton-on-Hudson to share this day with you.
While they're taking a picture, we'll ask that the new homeowners of Dr. Hill's Place, Greg and Rebecca Young, please come forward. Please give it up for these two. They are amazing human beings with respect to history.
Thank you. Rebecca's there. Don't give her too much attention, but I'll speak for the both of us. I'm Greg Young, and together with Rebecca, we own this beautiful property. It's 30 State Street. It stands as a testament to Dr. Hill's legacy. Over the past 18 months, we have educated ourselves continuously about this property, and specifically about Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill's contribution to the Black community and to our community as a whole is deeply ingrained in what the town and village of Ossining represents. We live in a place of diversity, inclusion, and respect. And though we pride ourselves on those tenets, there is much work to be done. And with regards to this work, we owe a massive debt of gratitude to Joyce and to Althema for making this happen, for carrying this story, and we, as the owners of 30 State Street, promise to do our part as well. When I was 12 years old, I participated in a March on Washington in support of the Jewish community. My deepest memory and purest memory of that day was stopping in a historically Black community, one that welcomed us with open arms, cold bottles of water, and a round of applause. We stopped, we talked to them, and we learned why the shared plight is so important to be shared and to be learned and to be respected. That day in Washington taught me about puzzle pieces. Puzzle pieces this world needs a whole lot more of. Today brings me endless joy, joy that sees our passion, Joyce's passion, Althema's passion, and the passion of this community commemorated. I get the chills just knowing that we get to play even the smallest part of it. Dr. Hill was nothing short of an inspiration, whether it was his role in the care for the community, his role at Sing Sing Prison, his role at Phelps Hospital, or his role as a pure community organizer. We should all be here standing in awe of the achievements of Dr. Hill and what that means for the pride of this community more than 70 years later. Again, thank you so much to Joyce and Althema and all the people responsible for making today happen. Thank you to the Village of Ossining for always being supportive of these meaningful endeavors and those who seek to carry the weight of change and progress on our shoulders.
Thank you, Greg. And now we'll have Dr. Hill's children, Neil and Deborah.
Okay. I didn't write anything, but my children will tell you I love to speak. I'll make it quick. My father was a very busy person, I'm not gonna lie. But when he was present, he was always present. And it wasn't about the quantity of time that he spent, but the quality of time. And I think that is echoed throughout not only both of our lives, but the lives and the lineage of our family. My father gave to himself, of himself to us, in the home, to neighbors, and in his profession. And that's what I try to do, and we try to do every single day. I'm not a physician. I do volunteer, and I'm an EMT volunteer. But it begins at home, and that's where we feel his message that it starts with love and inspiration at the front door. It goes outside to the neighbor, and it spreads within the community, and that's what we try to do all the time. So thank you very much. Thank you for honoring my father. Thank you for honoring us, and thank you for making Ossining the community that it is and always has been, which is a community of oneness, a community of focus, and a community of progress. So thank you very much. And thank you too.
Okay, this is an amazing experience. There are faces here that at first I'm like, oh, let me go on the Wayback Time Machine, and to actually register and recognize. So from the absolute bottom of my heart, I thank you, not because, and I am very moved, but because particularly for those of you who did know my father, know that he loved you. From the bottom of his 5-foot+ heart, he loved you. I find this to be a very striking time for this to happen. We are on the precipice. Everyone here knows it. You don't need me to tell you. There are people who want to bind us together in beloved community, and then there are those who would rather burn the house down than share an inch of space. My father was about caring for all people, no matter what color, no matter what their finances, no matter who they knew or did not know, no matter what they did for a living. To him, the fact that you existed meant you were worthy. For every life you touch, I ask you in his name to remember that and to pass it on. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how many letters you do or do not have after your name. It doesn't matter if the person you are standing next to agrees with you or not. If they are hateful or they are loving, they still deserve to be here because they are here. And so one of the things that he imparted to Neil and myself and just about anybody else who would listen is, it's not about competing with the Joneses. It's not what brand of shoes are you wearing, what car do you drive. It's about, are you a better person this morning than you were last night? Are you a better person this morning than you were last night? Can you show someone compassion? Can you be grateful for anything? I am so grateful for this moment, and I am so grateful to each and every one of you. If we can just throw a pebble in the pond, there'll be enough ripple for a tidal wave, I hope. And I'll shut up now.
Thank you. I would like to also acknowledge Clarice Imbriano, who actually gave us Dr. Hill's chair from the office that is going to be here in the house permanently. Thank you, Greg and Rebecca. So thank you, Clarice. Okay, we have an exercise we're going to do with you, and this will be the final thing before we unveil. This exercise is about legacy and how it touches lives. Us standing here, we represent Dr. Hill. And if I call you and you represent any of these things, come over here and join us. The United States Army. Members of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. The Elks. The NAACP. Anyone in the medical field. The Ossining Open Door. Phelps Memorial Hospital. Sing Sing Prison. The Heart Association. The Westchester Mental Health Hygiene Association. The Westchester War Manpower Board. The Medical Board of Phelps Memorial Hospital. One man did this, y'all. One man. The Medical Board, oh, we did that one already. New York State Fellowship for Study of Social Diseases. The Ossining Negro Civic Organization. The Cooperative Scholarship Fund. We have the Elks. And the Ossining School Board. If you are a patient, if you were delivered by Dr. Hill, if you knew Dr. Hill, delivered. If you never knew what legacy was, you're looking at it. This is legacy. What you leave behind. Look what he left behind. So Dr. Hill, it's been 89 years, but we did it for you. So if we can unveil it.